welcome to Mornings with the Focus. As always, we have Justin Walters with us. I'm Wilson Tarpe Jr. Look, we told you guys yesterday we're going to talk about week 2 of the NFL season a little bit more in depth. Later on tonight, we got WNBA Finals Game 3 between the Aces and Sun. Must-win game for the Sun. Otherwise, the Aces will complete a 3-game sweep and capture their first WNBA title since they've become the Aces. Also tonight, we talked about the Thursday night matchup this week a little bit yesterday. We talked about the Chargers, the Chiefs. Its game is in Kansas City, so that should be fun. That's tonight. Both games start around the same time. That said, look, we're gonna make this really, really simple, short and sweet. Just start looking at the schedule. Talk about any games that stand out to us. As always, you guys are encouraged to hit the comment section. Let us know what you guys think. And we'll respond. We'll happily respond. That's it. Let me get the schedule up here for you guys so you guys can see it as well. Washington, Detroit could be fun. Washington, again, week 1, not many teams played really clean game ones, but I was encouraged about Washington. Some of the things that we talked about, during training camp and preseason and whatnot, about the type of skill, the type of talent they have. Their skill position players, skill position group on offense. It's just about Carson kind of just walking the fine line more so than anything. Detroit's Detroit. I think it's well documented how we both feel about Detroit. Just being one of those just hard teams to play because of how they get after it. Trying to think of anything else that's Seattle, San Francisco is going to be fun just because it's a division game. Miami and Baltimore, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Miami and Baltimore, so just want to get your thoughts on that matchup. Both teams coming into this 1-0, but for totally different reasons and how these rosters are constructed. What do you like about Miami, Baltimore?
Yeah, that Coach Mike McDaniels and that new offense, to see what they do against, it's basically like another step up against another, defensively. The Patriots are known for a solid defense, but this is like a step up even more so. And even if you going back and watch the tape, you see there was a lot of receivers that were open, and the offensive line didn't hold up as much as they could have, and Tua missed some throws. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they can hit on some of those plays. And then I've heard that I read that I guess Austin Jackson may be out, and maybe even Armstead, so that could make it a lot harder for Miami. And then also, remember, Miami was the team that supposedly came up with the defense to stop Lamar last year. Let's see how that works this year. If the cover zero blitzes and all that work this year, because it gives those receivers a chance to see if they're really as good as they showed in week 1. If Bateman and Duvernay can win against Xavier Howard, and Byron Jones is out, but I guess it'll be Nick Needham. So I guess that'll be a test for both for Lamar and that offense in that way, and if they can adjust to those blitzes, if they're still sending the similar blitzes as they did last year. I think it should be a good game. Just be a great test for Miami. I mean, Baltimore is always going to be a problem, but it'll be a big test for Miami, in my opinion.
For sure, and that's the thing I want to see the most is I think obviously both quarterbacks in two totally different places in life in their careers at the moment, but two good defenses, right? To see how they go about getting the job done. Again, week 1, I don't think either one of us took any sweeping statements from it, but it looks like a fun matchup. We got Chicago and Green Bay. I'm actually looking forward to. I know we've been here with Green Bay in the past where they've lost a couple early games in the past and people went crazy and all that other stuff. However, I don't think they can afford to start the season with 2 division losses. That's my only, caveat on this. If they start 0-2, I don't think it's the end of the world. However, starting 0-2 in your division is not a good look to start the year.
Definitely. I definitely agree with you on that. Also to lose to Chicago, I think you can lose to these teams that you own. You can explain away a Minnesota loss at the end of the season, but that Bears loss, that's the one that can cost you the 1 seed, can cost you, a home game, playoff, maybe, the division period. But again, for Green Bay, we're kind of just assuming it's going to click at some point. Hopefully they get their offensive lineman back as well. But yeah, I think for them it's just
I think you just went out for a second, Justin. You said for them, or maybe we lost you.
more so
Okay.
you really can't take it from last week. It's just that they competed. For me, it's just like, okay, they really competed against a really good team, but when you put the weather in and the offense wasn't clicking, like, it was a lot of kind of some broken stuff, and they really didn't really get into a rhythm, which is really hard with that weather. So I think just to really
Okay, I think he just went out again. I'm sure we'll have Justin back in just a moment. But yeah, with that game, you back? Okay, we'll have him rejoin. But yeah, with the Bears, I'm anxious to see if they could get their offense rolling. Throw last week out the window. Credit to them for getting a win in those very tough conditions. We saw they coach Eberflus and OC Luke Getzey kind of find something that worked in the second half, got Justin going, got him comfortable, got their offense on track during the stretch of the game when they needed it most. And to see how they do against that Packers defense. And for the Packers, I don't waiting to see if they can get their offense like on track as well. Just really clunky. We saw the day that Justin Jefferson had against them last week. There's no Justin Jefferson in this game, so ideally you would expect the defense to perform a bit better. But division games are division games, man, and the state of Green Bay's offense is kind of is just real wonky right now. So we got to see if they can get it back together. But again, the biggest thing is I don't care who you are. It's not a good look to start the season with back-to-back division losses. So I think in this one, it's at home in Green Bay, and all the pressure is on the Packers in this one. Chicago's playing with house money. And I also would like to just throw this out there for people. There are a lot of flaws with Chicago's roster and whatnot. I don't think their defense is one of them. I think just for the most part this year, it's figuring out how to get enough going consistently on the offensive end. I think they're gonna they should have a top 15 defense in the league, and I think top 15. I'm being generous. I don't think the bottom's gonna fall out from the defense. I think it has the potential to be a good defense. Some of these other games, Cincinnati at Dallas could have been intriguing, but no Dak. That went off my list. Okay, here's another one. Denver, looking at you. Houston at Denver. You can't afford it. Obviously, week one, it is what it is. We all know the decision that was made at the end of that game. We would hope that going forward, that Coach Hackett can trust his all-world and and think about the price tag on Russell Wilson, that you could trust him to pick up 4th and 5. However, I'm interested to see the type of fight Houston can put up against Denver, and just to see if Denver can get on track. I don't think they were that bad week one, but I feel like they definitely didn't capitalize on all their opportunities.
No, definitely. Houston's a tough team, and I think you feel like they're coming in their own, but more so they're like a team that will show up, and I think that's what Lovie Smith's kind of putting into them is just the ability. You can't win if you're not around. They're going to play solid football and try not to beat themselves. And Denver still, I think maybe I'm not saying building too much off of that first game, but maybe we gave Denver a little too much credit going into the season. Hey, they have these weapons and Russ is coming in and they're just going to take off. But maybe it's going to take a little more time because Russ isn't as as much of a just throw into a system type guy as some of the other guys who have changed teams, and then some of those other players that aren't as developed as we watch different quarterbacks go to teams, and we look at the talent at receiver and things like that. But I think the Denver receivers kind of still are finding themselves. So maybe for Denver it might take a little longer to get going. I mean they really should win this game, but it wouldn't surprise me if Houston gives them everything they can handle and even pulls it out.
Yeah, I'm at the Very much agree there. Then I think actually like the two other games I'm actually interested in are, the Monday night doubleheader. So that should be challenging to watch because one game will still be going on while the other one starts. But that's why most people have multiple devices at their hand. For when sports does this to us, on Monday night we got Tennessee at Buffalo at 7:15. Then we got Minnesota at Philadelphia at 8:30. Which one? Just talking about both of those games. What's your take on Tennessee Buffalo?
Tennessee, for some reason, is giving Buffalo a tough time the last few years. So, as much as we look at Tennessee and say, they just lost to the Giants, they're that team that's always lost to that. They've lost to teams lower than them and beat teams better than them. Last year they beat Kansas City and Buffalo, handily. So it's like you just never know what's going to show up with them. Their version of football is they're going to be physical and they're going to try to get downhill with Henry and the pass rush and that type of thing. But I just think this version of Buffalo, especially earlier this season, looks like they're just going to get after them offensively. They just can't score. Tennessee is just not going to be able to hang with them because Buffalo can score basically at will. But so I'm pretty much saying Buffalo's going to pull it up. We're going to win probably by, I would guess, 10-14 to be honest with you. But Tennessee will compete, and that's what one good thing about Vrabel.
Yeah, I just want to see how Buffalo. Again, for Buffalo, it's just about being the team that everyone feels that you are, right? They've been anointed as pretty much the number one contender. If this was boxing, just to see how they handle, like you said, I'm just interested in it because of how Tennessee's played them in the past. Obviously, teams change every year. Want to see how that one goes. We got Minnesota and Philadelphia. Minnesota's coming off a good win over the Packers, and Philadelphia won their Week 1 game. Jalen Hurts, you know how that goes. You play well, nobody cares, nobody talks about it. So it's kind of quiet on the Jalen Hurts front. Primetime game, though, Monday Night Football. Your thoughts on Philly, Minnesota, and this game is going to be in Philly.
I'll be honest with you, man. These could be the two best teams in the NFC. If you didn't come in with preconceived notion and just went by what you saw, both teams played really good games on Sunday. And again, Philly, towards the end after the last few signings and trades, everyone jumped on the Philly bandwagon, and offensively they showed it, and defensively they flashed some things, and they gave up some points. But I think this is a big game to show like which one of them is for real. It's really both teams obviously could be really good, but to see who jumps to the front, with the teams that are with the favorites who are already 0-1. But I think it'll be interesting to see how they hold up against Justin Jefferson with if they move Darius Slay around, or if he goes inside, they put Gardner Johnson on him, or that's what their plan is with that. And then if they can stop the run, you get more Jordan Davis out there to try to limit what Dalvin Cook can do. Just to kind of block up the line a little bit. And then offensively, Minnesota has Danielle Hunter's back. And, he made some plays in Week 1, so to see if he can get some pressure on Hurts, and if Hurts can be as efficient as he was offensively last Sunday, but maybe not run him as much. I think he had carried the ball 17 times. In 17 games, 17 carries a game. There's the 17 carries. That's probably in the top 10 of carries last week. Now I don't think too many guys carried the ball 17 times. So maybe just get Miles Sanders going and get Devontae Smith involved, because I don't think he had any catches last week. So I think that would be a big part in just evolving that offense. AJ went crazy, but just trying to do a little more and get more people involved to see what for the future.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to that one. We were talking about when they hired Kevin O'Connell, man. I think one of the things Justin Jefferson said in the preseason that stuck with me was with that style of offense. He talked about how easy it is for the Rams to get Kupp the ball in so many different ways when everybody knows he's getting it, and we saw that in Week 1. Minnesota's made it clear who they're going to feed the ball to. So like you said, interested to see how Philly deals with that defensively. And real quick, Eagles, it's not that hard, man. You got specimens like Jordan Davis. They play until they need to be taken off the field. It just is what it is, man. It's not that, like, to me, that would have been one of the easiest personnel decisions. Like, oh, okay, he can't move at all. All right, somebody help him get off the field, take a couple deep breaths, go right back out.
Right. Stand here.
Man, hey, look, rest on even on the passing play. Just rest. Lean forward. Life is gonna be okay. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't remember the stat, like the numbers per se, but there was a stark contrast between him being on the field defending the run and him being off the field.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
It's a big gap. So how about you just keep him on the field and you rotate the smaller guys around him? It's just me.
Yeah.
Just figure it out. But yeah, I thought the Eagles, it was solid. It was a solid start, and they got a chance. If you could start the year with, you start the year 2-0, that's not a bad look at all. Same thing for the Vikings. Like you said, if you take away the preconceived notions people had about some of the teams that are 0-1 already, right now going into week 2, these are two teams that top the NFC. It's just a fact if you look at their record. So, who they've beaten thus far. So it is what it is. Obviously, we're only 2 weeks in. We're approaching the second week of 17-game season or what have you. But they're both 1-0. Give them the respect they deserve until, one of them ends up under 500. Or if that's not the case, we see them at the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? So it's really just that simple. But be looking forward to what week 2 brings to us in the NFL. For sure.
And one thing I was thinking. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you good.
Just it feels like at this moment, really, it's season, week 0 preseason time. We're saying, hey, this team might be this team might be that, and it feels like, obviously it's super early, like beyond super early, but the only teams you would feel comfortable putting in that Super Bowl window right now are really Buffalo and Kansas City, and it's just as the season goes on, you want to see other people step into that right now, and. I think that's a good thing about the season because the beginning means nothing. But like early on, it was Rams, this team, that, and now it's like everyone showed legit questions in week 1, and now you have some of these other teams like the two we just spoke of, will have a chance to try to make themselves, at least put themselves in a conversation where they're a few weeks away from really being considered. But at the moment, the only 2 teams that really showed themselves to be on that level seem like they're at another level were Buffalo and Kansas City, in my opinion.
No, for sure.
Again, if the Chargers pull it out tonight, maybe they belong in that conversation. But it's just funny how the season works. You don't take much football. As soon as they hit the field, things change a little bit.
No, for sure. And I think, again, with this thing going to 17 games, the first quarter of the season, honestly, and I know this sucks and some people don't want to hear it, it doesn't mean what it used to mean. The first quarter of the season, when you factor in how preseason has been altered, it changes things. 1 or 2 things can happen. It can give somebody who is a little bit more prepared or had more continuity a quicker start, factor in some different variables. And for another team where, say they build and they, the first quarter of the season are a little slow and they get better each and every quarter they're on, it's about what they look like at the end of the regular season. Just that's what it is. You can be the best team in the league for the first 2 quarters. If the bottom falls out via the Arizona Cardinals, the past couple years, like, does it matter? However, you can lose a season in the first quarter if it's that bad. But like you said, you got a couple teams that prove themselves to be in a conversation at the start, and there's nothing wrong with that. Then for the rest of it, it's even if you get out to that quick start, can you maintain it? And that's going to be the challenge. Right. Can you maintain it?
Like you said, if you lose to the wrong teams early, it could set you back. Like you said with the Packers, those 2 losses in division, those can hurt.
Mm-hmm. Like those aren't equal to somebody else starting 0-2. We're like, those aren't equal to the Broncos if the Broncos were to start 0-2. It's not. It'll hurt in the court of public perception. But at the end of the year, when people are like, oh, I wish we had that game back. If you lost 2 division games, those are the ones you're going to wish you had back.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Those carry a little bit more weight. Those, when it gets into tiebreakers and stuff later in the year, if somebody has a similar record than you, but they beat you, that's tough.
Right. Yeah.
It's tough.
Also, the thing we don't think about is a loss. A loss is a loss. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
not so much like, and not the way you were saying it, but like we look at certain games and you're like, that team got blown out by them, or they didn't show up this week. Like Green Bay losing to Minnesota. Green Bay lost to Minnesota last year. Now, unfortunately, the way it looked this time was worse, but it's just a loss, And I think we sometimes, even, as a person who was a Cowboy fan, losing to Tampa Bay, it wasn't the end of the world because we kind of went and expected to not beat Tampa Bay.
All right. You still there? I think we lost you for a second. I know you talk about the
But
Cowboys
the
and
way it
okay, you're
looked
back.
makes you feel like, oh my goodness, we were terrible.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it, and that's the thing. I think all losses are losses. However, like I think people just have to take. It's just too early to make sweeping indictments one way or the other, unless your team ended up with like a season-ending injury to critical positions. Outside of that, like I think everyone has to take a deep breath after week one. Just take a real long deep
Right.
breath, man. There's so many moving parts to this season. We're only in week two. We're
Right.
only in week two.
Yep. Yep.
There's a bunch of teams that we haven't even seen who they are yet. The teams that, some teams, like you said, that started already, that have been able to show us who they are, that's great. And credit to them. And then it's about maintaining it. Other teams, we don't know who this version of them, this year's version of them is just yet. And we'll find out throughout the course of the year. But week two is too early to know. That's what I am comfortable with saying. It's too early to know anything
Right.
outside of, your record's your record at the moment. If you're 0-2, you're 0-2. If you're 0-1, you're 0-1. Does that mean you're not a playoff team anymore? Nah, it just means right now, with the playoffs not starting for at least another 15 to 16 weeks, you're 0-2. Or you're 0-1. It's that simple. I also am not a fan of things being must-win games in week two of a 17-game season. People
Right.
need to relax. Just take a deep breath. We've seen people last year start slow and finish strong. We see that every year in the NFL.
Right.
Sometimes we see teams who, are teetering at 500 the entire year and hit the playoffs hotter that on a level that we've never seen them at throughout the course of the regular season.
Yep.
So again, it's about what you look like at the end of the year. But again, week two should be fun. Look forward to see what you guys have to say about it on the other side. And then tomorrow morning, we'll be talking about the two games that happen tonight. We got Chargers, Chiefs, Chargers at Chiefs, and then we got Vegas at Connecticut for Game 3 of the WNBA Finals. So we see you guys tomorrow morning.